All right, hello folks. This is Sully here, and with Diablo 2 Resurrected releasing later this week, I want to make an announcement for something I've kind of been teasing for the last couple weeks on stream, and that is a new team variant that I'm trying to put together. It's actually an old team variant from Realms Beyond called the Low Rent Legion. This was a variant created by Achi back in the day, like 20 years ago now, and I'd like to resurrect it, pun intended, for Diablo 2 Resurrected. So what is this team variant? Let me give you a little overview of the rules. Well, the main restriction of the Low Rent Legion is that only active character level 1 skills are allowed. So, in other words, only the character level 1 skills is what the whole team is based around. So, that's your basic skills available from the very start of the game at character level 1. Now, just to give you a little bit more detail on how this works, we divide skills into 3 categories for this variant: active, passive, and synergy skills. Active skills, anything that uses mana, anything that has an active function, anything that you're kind of using is an active skill. And for all of those, only character level 1 skills are allowed. So that means if you're playing a sorceress, no teleport. That means if you're playing a barbarian, no whirlwind. That means if you're playing a druid, no shape-shifting into a werebear. None of those are character level 1 skills. So as you can see, most of the skills in the game are not allowed. And that, of course, is the challenge, is you have to base the whole team around using those basic skills that the characters only know from the very beginning of the game. So, other skills, there are passive skills, skills that are never used. Those skills are fine. So, again, I've played a lot of Sorcery, so that's what I refer to with a lot of these examples. Fire Mastery, okay. Warmth, okay. Those are passive skills. You don't use them, in other words, so those are fine. Anything that's a purely passive skill is totally fine, even if it's not character level 1. And then there's a third category, synergy skills. These are skills that have a synergy bonus for character level 1 skills. So in other words, by putting points in a different skill, you get an additional synergy bonus for the character level 1 skills. So skill points in those are okay. They're just making the character level 1 skill stronger, but those skills themselves cannot be used. So let me give you some examples here. I told you I've played an awful lot of Sorceries, so I'm going to use Sorceress class as an example here. Active skills at character level 1, Firebolt, Charge Bolt, Ice Bolt, Frozen Armor. All very basic skills. Those are all totally fine. Can use them as much as you want. Those are the skills the character has to be built around for this variant. Passive skills: Warmth, Fire Mastery, Lightning Mastery, Cold Mastery. Obviously, the Mastery skills are character level 30, but again, they're purely passive skills. They have no active function. They are totally fine. So if you're going to build your character around Charge Bolt, you can max Lightning Mastery as much as you want. And in fact, you're going to have to, because Charge Bolt does not do a lot of damage. Then the synergy skills, just to give you examples of these: Fireball, Meteor have synergies for Firebolt. Usually it's the other way around. Usually you're giving points in Firebolt for Meteor, but you can do it the other way around too. Lightning for Charge Bolt, and then there's a whole bunch of skills that have synergies for Ice Bolt. Now, you might still think, well, wait a minute, Ice Bolt, will that really do enough damage to make it through Hell difficulty? Well, we'll see. I've done variants that are weaker than that. If you have like skill level 30 Ice Bolt, and it's got all these synergy skills, plus, like skill level 30 Cold Mastery, I mean, you're not going to be rolling through Hell difficulty, but you can still make progress. Trust me, I've done variants with weaker setups than this. And then there's some synergies for Frozen Armor, but that's probably not where you're going to build the character. Just to give you another example, Necromancer class, active skills: Raise Skeleton, Teeth, Bone Armor, Amplify Damage. Passive skills: Skeleton Mastery, Golem Mastery, Summon Resist. Interestingly enough, Golem Mastery is allowable as a passive skill, but you can't ever use the actual golems themselves, so probably not a good place to put skill points if you're going to build a Necromancer. And then synergy skills: Bone Wall, Bone Spear, Bone Prison, Bone Spirit, all have synergies for Teeth. It makes me wonder, is it actually possible to run a teeth-based Necromancer under these rules? I mean, maybe. The more realistic build path of the Necromancer is relying on Raise Skeleton, Skeleton Mastery, being a summoning Necromancer, probably with some points in Bone Armor, and then using Amp Damage to debuff the enemy's physical resistance. But, I mean, if you want to run a Teeth Necromancer, this is the time. It might be viable. Who knows? It's not like a lot of enemies have resistance to the magic damage that Teeth does. All right, those are just some examples. All of the classes have their own build path. I'm just using the ones I'm most familiar with. I have more. I have the full list of all skills that all 7 classes can and can't use on my website, which is linked in the description of this video. Okay, so other restrictions: no mercenaries. So that'll seem strange to a lot of people, but again, it kind of defeats the point of the variant if you can just hire Act 2 mercenaries and suddenly they can pull in auras that aren't allowed by the rules of this variant. So no mercenaries, it's a team. We'll have multiple characters, multiple people playing. We can do without having the mercenary hirings. No use of items with spell charges, again, kind of defeats the purpose of the variant if you can just use skills that are disallowed by variant by getting them off items, so kind of pointless. No twinking items. Use that stuff you can find, buy, or make for yourselves. Trading within the team is totally fine. It's a group venture. If you find something that, if you're playing on Amazon and you find something that has plus skills charges for an assassin, by all means, hand it over to the person who's playing an assassin, but, don't just gather up all the items you've ever found on any character ever. No running games with these characters outside the group. Again, it's intended to be a team group that plays together, not like stuff that you go off and solo yourself in other games. And then finally, no variant within the variant. This is more applies to Realms Beyond. There was kind of infamous at Realms Beyond. People would play variants that were more extreme than the variant itself, like having 200 unassigned stat points. Please don't do that. Just, do your best within the rules. All right, so scheduling stuff. Looking to begin this in sometime in early October. When exactly, I'm not sure yet, but want to give people time to actually purchase the new version of Diablo D2 Resurrected. So we'll be looking to start this in a couple weeks. Time slot to coincide with my Friday live streams, so that's roughly 10 a.m. to 1600, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with some room for flexibility. We could run this at the beginning of that time slot. We could run it towards the end of that time slot, whatever works best for other people. Not planning on having this be a 6-hour group. It's probably like 2 hours, and then we can run it for like the first 2 hours, the middle 2 hours, the last 2 hours of that period, whatever makes sense for people. I realize this time slot will not work for many people. I'm aware of that. I'm sorry. It's when I am available. It should hit people in Europe relatively well. It's evening in Europe, and hit people in North America somewhat well if they don't have to be at work or in school on Fridays. I realize, again, it's pretty terrible for people in Oceania or East Asia. I'm sorry, I can't do anything about that. It's just when I'm available for streaming and when I have time to run this. Up to 8 total players welcome. So again, the more the merrier. Having more people is great. We could run this with as few as like 3 or 4 people. We can run this with 8. It would be awesome to have more people. No restrictions on classes. If we end up with 3 barbarians, it's totally fine. Just whatever's fun. I will basically fill role as needed. I'll wait to see what other people are playing and pick something around that. But don't feel like you have to play something because the team needs it. We can run whatever, just whatever's fun. No prior D2 experience needed. I'm sure there'll be some people who have played this game to death like me, but you do not need to have any experience whatsoever. If you've never played Diablo 2 before, this is a great time to learn because there will be other people who are very familiar with the game. And as I said, more information on the Sula Discord and on the website, both linked below this video. So check that out for more information. Don't try to jump. I would prefer to have people who can commit to doing this for at least a month, like maybe 2 or 3 months, ideally. Like you can regularly make a Friday team slot if you, have kind of spotty availability. Would prefer that you not take a slot from someone else. I don't know how popular this is going to be, so maybe there'll be more people interested than I'm expecting. Maybe there'll be less. We'll find out. But would prefer to have people who can make it on like a consistent weekly basis. Obviously, some people are going to be out. Maybe you've got like a doctor's appointment one week or whatever. No big deal, but generally looking for people who can make it on a weekly basis. So that is the plan. Hopefully this sounds interesting. I'm hoping we'll get some people who can join, and it should be fun. So that's the detail on the Low Rent Legion. Hope to see some of you there. Hope some of you can make it. Until then, have a great week, and I'll see you guys again soon. Take care, folks.